Chapter 5. The Slime Demon Lord. 2 weeks had passed since the fact that Hajime was the weakest of them all became known. Hajime trained as much as possible, and the rest of the time he spent reading about the world to get more information than the church provided. Hajime sighed after reading the book. He stood up and picked up his status card. Name Nagumo Hajime. Age 17. Class Synergist. Blessings Crest of the Storm. Level 2. Strength 12. Vitality 12. Stamina 12. Agility 12. Magic power. Magic resistance 12. This was the result of 2 weeks hard work. Ridiculous. Let's compare with Kauki. Name Managawa Kauki. Age 17. Class Hero. Level 10. Strength 200. Vitality 200. Stamina 200. Agility 200. Magic power 200. Magic resistance 200. His growth rate is frightening. Rimuru doesn't like to show his status board, so no one knows how much he's grown. Hajime overheard Kauki saying something like, no one sees him training. He must be arrogant because of his initial status, but it's obvious that we'll surpass him. He seems to be a little jealous of Rimuru's strength. By the way, Rimuru does train, Hajime just doesn't know where. The early risers are Hajime and Rimuru. The two always see each other when they leave the room, but Hajime doesn't know where Rimuru trains. He never looks tired, it's almost as if he doesn't need sleep. Hajime has found that his affinity for magic is very low, so to cast a spell, more mana is spent, and also larger or more complex magic circles need to be made. In addition, it is necessary to make bigger corners. Basically, Hajime is terrible at magic. After reading some more about this world, Hajime wondered if he should run away and take a trip. He had no attachment to this war, but he gave up on the idea because he realized that with his current strength, he would die at the hands of the first magical beast or bandit he found. Hajime thought about asking his brother to go along, but he has some friends among the students, and Hajime didn't think Rimuru would want to get away from them. Besides, he didn't want to depend on Rimuru for everything. Actually, what I want most is to see demihumans. Imagine a girl with rabbit ears. Hajime muttered. But the church said that demihumans were a god-forsaken race, so it was hard to see a demihuman here in the kingdom. The reason the church said that was because demihumans couldn't use magic, and since the church had faith that magic was something created by God, everyone in the Hahiri kingdom hated demihumans. The Behemoth Empire, which was a human country to the east, used demihumans as slaves, but the influence of the church in the kingdom was so great that people didn't like to use them even as slaves, because they hated having them around. Hajime was currently reading about the Great Dungeons. Few of them have been discovered, but there are reports that there are 10 in total. But let's talk about the morning training with Captain Melt. Today was the first training with magic beasts. They gave the students weakened magic beasts to kill on the battlefield. For the others, it was an easy task. For Hajime, obviously, I was horrible. Hajime thought about it and continued reading. At the moment, Rimuru was going to go train. Not mine, of course. Rimuru had full control over his magic. He is training the magic of this world, actually not really training. He does magic experiments, and Seal analyzes them. Seal says things like mix these 2 magic corners, or make this magic circle, and Rimuru does the tests. But Seal-sen says that unraveling the laws and magic of this universe is very complicated. He even said that he might be receiving interference from a high-level being in this universe, but Rimuru denied the idea because there is no one in this universe who knows about his power. Rimuru trains in an abandoned training ground, as no one there sees him experimenting with high-level magic, but strangely, today Rimuru's ability magical perception detected someone in the training ground. In the stands, Rimuru saw a beautiful girl with a ponytail. She was half shrinking and crying in a low voice. Rimuru recognized her as Yugashi Shizuku. It was obvious that she was not okay, so Rimuru stepped forward and asked what had happened. Alright Rimuru-kun, don't worry, I'm fine, but how did you find me here? How can I not worry about you? You crying and hiding. Rimuru wanted to refute, but thought it was better not to force the issue, so she decided to answer her. I train here, that's why I'm here, and you, why are you here crying? You can talk to me, you know. We have been friends since childhood, and friends are good for this moment too. Shizuku seemed reluctant to speak, but was convinced by Rimuru's words and said, yeah, it's just that I can't stop thinking about the feeling. Sensation. Of taking a life. Rimuru understood what she was talking about. Today's morning training was fighting magic beasts, and it was a fight to kill, so Shizuku seemed to be feeling bad about it. I see. Yugashi-san, are you feeling guilty for taking a life, or is it something else? No, it's just that. Tears began to flow from her eyes. She looked really bad at something. I don't know if I'm going to be ready for war. I don't want to go out killing people I don't know. I've always wanted to do good, but now I'm going to get ready to kill people in other people's wars, and I don't know what I should do. You know, I think at such times it is good to learn from other people's experiences. Yugashi-san. I already said that you can call me Shizuku when we are not around others. Ah yes. Actually, the two were very close, but in the first year of middle school, when people heard them calling each other by their first names, getting along, and how popular and good-looking the two were, people at school would bombard them with questions like, what's your relationship with Winnie-sama? Or were you two boyfriends and girlfriends? Or is it true that you've kissed? Many of these questions came from the Soul Sisters, Shizuku's fan club. So because of these occurrences, they decided not to call each other so casually in public. Shizuku-chan, can I tell you a story? I guess so. Shizuku was confused by his words, but let Rimuru speak. Once upon a time, there was a very clever slime. Shizuku looked at Rimuru, a little curious. This slime became friends with a powerful dragon and got his blessing. The dragon's blessing, added to his own power, caused him to create a new city for monsters that eventually became a country. This country became prosperous and very rich, but then a neighboring nation with a greedy king took the opportunity when the slime ruler was out of the country to attack his nation. Shizuku was still listening without interrupting, but she was a little confused by the story. Rimuru had a serious look on his face as he told the story, so Shizuku did not interrupt him. The invaders killed several inhabitants before he returned, including some of Slime's friends. The slime suffered from the loss, but did not explode with anger. That was because he learned that 20,000 more enemy soldiers were marching into his kingdom. So he decided to use them. To Shizuku, the story was getting stranger and stranger. Yes, for an ancient ritual that had only a 3% chance of working. But for the ritual, he needed 20,000 souls. So he put all his faith in that 3% chance. The slime used his power to slaughter his enemies and harvest their souls. He used the souls in the ritual, and it worked from that day on, and he became known as a demon lord, no matter what people thought of him because of his actions. He didn't care because his friends and his country were fine. Is it the ending? Shizuku asked, still not understanding the point of the story. No, there's a lot more to it, but the part I want to tell you is this. The point of the story is that slime chose what was important to himself. What do you mean? I still don't understand what you're getting at. See, he didn't care whether it was right or wrong, he didn't prioritize the many over the few. He simply decided to prioritize those who were important to him, those he was sworn to protect. I don't know if I would do that if I were there, another cough, if I were in his shoes, but I think if you choose what is important to you, you can figure out what you want to do from here on out, and if you want my help, just ask. If you want to escape the kingdom, I can help you. If you want to protect your colleagues and fight in the war, I will help you. If you hesitate to kill someone, I will do my best to support you. Rimuru spoke confidently to show his support for Shizuku. Shizuku stared at him with a thoughtful expression and then spoke. You mean you would destroy an army of 20,000 just to save me? She spoke this in the right tone, but she also seemed a bit shy, so maybe she wanted to know Rimuru's real answer. To this, Shizuku Rimuru decided to answer sincerely. Well, sure. Shizuku-chan is a very important friend to me. Shizuku blushed at his direct answer. That's because Rimuru said she was important to him. Rimuru was also a little embarrassed to say so. Shizuku moved a little closer to Rimuru in her seat. She looked up at the sky as if she were thinking about something and said, Alright, I think I've decided. I'm going to go to war, not to kill demons or anything, but to protect my friends. She stood up, and as she spoke, she clenched her fists with determination. Ooh. Clap clap. Rimuru clapped her hands as she was in awe of Rimuru's determination. Yash, I don't think I'll train today, I think I'm hungry. I'll eat something. I'll be going then, Shizuku-chan, until later. Let's wait, Rimuru-kun. Ah, what? Rimuru was about to leave, but Shizuku stopped him. It's just that. If you want, you can go back to calling me Shizuku-chan in public. Besides, she was red while talking about that, eh? Why is she red? Well, it must be nothing. Rimuru thought. Shizuku moved a little closer to Rimuru and hugged him. Thank you very much. Shizuku thanked him for the conversation, as it helped her clear her thoughts. Rimuru turned red at her thanks. He also turned that way from the fact that Shizuku hugged him very tightly, so Rimuru could feel her breasts touching him. Isn't this reaction a bit over the top? She can't be interested in me, can she? Well, even if that's the case, I'm engaged, and I can't have anything with her, damn. This teenage body is exploding with desire. To think that such a cute girl could be interested in me, no. No. I'm engaged. Seal-san, show me pictures of my beloved fast. No pictures. What do you mean there are no pictures? What about all the ones you took on our dates? They have been deleted. Bastard. That's good. I'm going then, Shizuku-chan. Rimuru-kun, don't you want to go to practice together with me today? She asked, still half red from hugging him. Rimuru accepted, and the two headed to the training ground. Hajime was walking to the training field. By the time he arrived, there were some students there who were already training and some chatting. Hajime picked up his western sword that was given to him for his free training, and just then he felt a blow on his back. He hurried to take a step forward and look back. He frowned when he saw Hayama's gang behind him. They always caused trouble for Hajime during training. Yo Nagumo, what are you doing? It makes no sense that you use a sword, you are useless after all. Hey Hayama, you take it too hard, even if it's true. If I were you, I would be ashamed to train. They fell into laughter again. Hey Nagumo, since I'm a nice guy, I'll train with you. Yeah, we'll help you train Nagumo too. Hajime tried to deny it, but they wouldn't let him get away with it. Then they started beating Hajime with magic attacks. Hajime could only curse his own weakness. Just as Hayama was about to attack Hajime with the hilt of his sword, he stopped. No, he was stopped by the boy in front of him. Blue hair, a blue coat, a white mask with black and red details, and a straight sword on his back. Yes, it was Rimuru. Hi. What do you guys think you're doing? When he said this, he removed the mask and released Demon Lord Haki, which made all the students break out in a cold sweat. Rimuru told Hajime that he wouldn't interfere anymore, but he felt that the gang went too far this time, and with Hajime's injuries, he might have even died. Rimuru was about to attack when he heard a voice that made the gang more scared than when Rimuru activated Demon Lord Haki. Hey, what are you guys doing? It was the voice of Kaori, who was standing next to Ryutaro and Kauki. Shizuku was already at the training camp as she arrived next to Rimuru. No? Please don't misunderstand. We were just helping Nagumo with his training. Nagumo-kun. Kaori ignored Hayama's explanation and ran to Hajime, who was crouching and coughing non-stop. Special training? Rimuru asked. Yes, it's just that. Hayama and the others left in a hurry. Under the light of Kaori's healing magic, Hajime's injuries healed completely. Thank you, Shirasaki-san, I'm fine now. Does this happen often? If that's the case. Kaori stared in the direction Hayama and the others ran off. No, it's not always like this. It's okay, I'm fine. But Hajime reassured her with a smile, and she finally gave in. Nagumo-kun, if you have any problems, feel free to tell me. If not, you can talk to Kaori. Shizuku forced a smile as she looked agonizedly at Kaori. Hajime thanked her, but to throw cold water on the situation, he had the hero talent. But Nagumo should train more. Sorry won't help you get stronger. I heard that you stay in the library all the time. If you trained seriously and got stronger, Hayama's gang won't bully you again. How should I respond to that? Hajime thought. Kauki was a person who believed that there was no evil in people's hearts. In his line of thinking, there was no evil in humanity. Hajime was already exhausted and didn't have the energy to explain the situation, so he just sighed. Sigh. Shizuku, who understood the situation, apologized softly. Sorry, he has no bad intentions. Ah, it's okay. Don't worry. After this incident, Captain Meld arrived and called everyone. Okay, people approach. The students approached, and he declared. Tomorrow we will go to the big Orcus dungeon to train. Chapter 6. Orcus Labyrinth. A labyrinth with hundreds of floors. It is filled with magical beasts, and the further you go down, the stronger the magical beasts get. The second floor of the dungeon was very famous and attracted many mercenaries who loved to collect magic nuclei from weak monsters. But the lower floors were very dangerous and were never fully explored. At the moment, the students were in an inn near this dungeon. They were going to sleep in order to be well rested when they went to train in the labyrinth tomorrow. The labyrinth with hundreds of floors. It is filled with magical beasts, and the further you go down, the stronger the magical beasts get. The second floor of the dungeon was very famous and attracted many mercenaries who loved to collect magic nuclei from weak monsters. But the lower floors were very dangerous and were never fully explored. The Orcus dungeon. Magic stones, or magic nuclei, were stones found in various sizes that were used to make magic circles and healing or mana wells. Hajime was the only one who was alone in his room. The other classmates were in rooms for two. Well, at least this way I can rest. Hajime spoke and threw himself on the bed. He was about to go to sleep when. Knock, K-N-O-C-K. Hajime-kun, can I come in? Kaori knocked on his door. What does she want at this hour? Hajime thought as he opened the door, and when it opened. It was Kaori with a negligee. She had very explicit sleepwear that was not open in many places, but was transparent on several parts of her body. Hajime did his best not to stare and spoke in a somewhat timid voice. Oh hi Shirasaki-san, why are you here? Kaori tilted her head in confusion at his reaction. What? I just want to talk, Nagumo-kun. No nothing. You can come in. She came in and sat down while Hajime prepared some tea. When he finished preparing the tea, he poured it for Kaori and him. Kaori thanked him. As she spoke. About the trip to the dungeon tomorrow, I want you to stay here. I will persuade the instructors to be our colleagues, so please. She pleaded with Hajime, who was perplexed. Even though he was a nuisance, wasn't that too much? That was her thought. Maybe you are right. I know I'm a burden. Maybe I really should stay here. You're wrong. It's not because you are a burden. Kaori tried to undo the misunderstanding. She thought she was being too harsh, but Hajime didn't think so. Kaori took a deep breath, put her hand on her chest, and said. That was very sudden. Sorry, it's just that when I slept, I had a dream. It was about Nagumo-kun. I was calling you, and you didn't realize I couldn't reach you, and in the end, you disappeared. I see. If Hajime stayed for traffic, the situation with his colleagues would definitely get worse. He would certainly not be welcome. He would have no choice but to go to the dungeon, and even if Kaori had a bad dream, even Hajime didn't think that was a good excuse, so imagine his colleagues. A dream is just a dream. Shirosaki-san. This time we have the knights to protect us, and we also have many strong people like my brother and Kauki. Besides, our room is amazing, even though I feel bad for our enemies. Only I am very weak. I wonder if you didn't have this dream because of that. While listening to him, Kaori looked down with a worried expression. If you were worried, then. So? Hajime looked Kaori in the eye as he spoke, embarrassed. Are you going to protect me? Eh? Shirosaki-sa is a healer, isn't she? If I get hurt, you heal me. As long as you're around, you can protect me with your power, can't you? Hajime spoke, half embarrassed. He was embarrassed to ask a girl to protect him, but he said it to reassure her. They looked into each other's eyes in silence. Some time passed, and Kaori said, "You never change." Hajime got a confused expression, and Kaori laughed at his expression. Nagumo-kun. You probably think we've known each other since middle school, but I actually saw you for the first time back in elementary school. Hajime was surprised and confused at the same time. No matter how hard he searched his memories, he couldn't remember this encounter. When I saw you protesting in the middle of the street, I really couldn't believe what I was seeing. You were surrounded by suspicious people. Even when they hit you, you didn't stop kneeling. After that, they walked away perplexed. I showed you such an unpleasant scene. An embarrassed smile appeared on his face. It was the same smile as when he discovered that his mother had organized his collection of erotic light novels. His mother worked with manga, so she certainly knew what kind of books those were. Kaori was looking at Hajime with kind eyes. No, it wasn't unpleasant. When I saw you, I thought you were very strong and kind. Huh? Does she have a fetish or something? Hajime thought he was confused. It's because you did it for a grandmother, who is your grandson. Hajime remembered an incident that happened when he was coming home from school. He saw a bunch of delinquents bullying a little boy and a grandmother because the little boy spilled ice cream on her shirt. Then and Barca's dungeon. At the moment, the students were on the 20th floor of the dungeon. Kauki, Rimuru, Meld, and the knights were standing guard in case of monster attacks. On the way here, the students fought against magical beasts that attacked them, with Kauki, Rimuru, Kaori, Shizuku, and Ryutaro with Meld in front and the students behind while the knights were around them. The knights were letting the students do most of the work. While watching to make sure they didn't let them get hurt, they also weakened some monsters for Hajime to kill. They were impressed by Hajime's determination. He used his ability to transmute on the ground to trap the monsters' feet and kill them with his dagger. But of course, the most impressive was Rimuru, who killed the monsters as if they were nothing. By the way, the students received several sacred artifacts that improved their skills. Kauki got a special sword that could only be wielded by the hero, which was called the Sacred Sword. He also received the best armor the kingdom had. The other students also received high-level equipment, and even Hajime received a glove that made him spend less mana on synergist skills. Rimuru was also offered high-level equipment, but he denied it and demonstrated his mana materialization skill. Immediately, a black outfit covered him. He also had a straight katana on his back, and a well-detailed white mask. Everyone was surprised by his super convenient ability, especially after he said they all had high resistance. Kaori was given a staff to increase the effectiveness of her healing magic. Shizuku was a samurai, so she was expecting a katana, but ended up getting a normal thin sword. Ryutaro received gloves made of super hard material for his fighter class. The other students also received items for their respective classes. Kaori always kept checking to see if Hajime was okay, and when their gazes met, she gave him a smile that made him look away in embarrassment, but he didn't look away just out of embarrassment. He had a strange feeling when his and Kaori's gazes met. It was a chill down his spine, as if a psychotic killer were staring at him from behind, but when he looked around, he didn't see anyone looking at him. At the moment, the students were resting and drinking water. Hajime took some water and saw Kaori looking at him, and she smiled gently at him. Shizuku, who noticed this, spoke in a playful tone. Hey Kaori, why do you keep looking at Nagumo-kun? Are you thinking of making a real-life romantic comedy? The title could be Safadiza in a Dungeon. What do you think? No. Shizuku-chan. Don't talk nonsense. I was just wondering if Nagumo-kun was okay. That's all. Kaori blushed at Shizuku's teasing. The romantic comedy was already in full swing with this comment. Shizuku noticed that Kaori got annoyed and kept her mouth shut, but her expression showed that she was enjoying herself. Kaori, who noticed this, stood her still red cheeks and said, "It's serious." Hajime continued looking at them but stopped when he felt that look, which gave him a chill down his spine again. "Who's that rascal?" Sigh. He muttered softly. The students finished their barefooting and continued on their way until they reached the last room on the 20th floor. This room had a complicated feature. The walls were filled with stones that looked like stalactites. When they arrived in the room, they didn't see any monsters, which made them relax a little. But they raised their guard at Meld's words. "They are cloaked, be careful." After that, the wall deformed, and out of it came a creature that seemed to be made of earth in the shape of a gorilla that jumped to attack them. "Be careful with your arms." The earth monster attacked Kauki but was stopped by Ryuteru's fist. At the same time, Shizuku and Kauki attacked the golem from the sides, and the monster shattered with a double attack. Meanwhile, Meld defeated 2 golems with his great sword. Rimuru also drew his katana, which ignited in black flames, and was cut in half by 3 golems. He also secretly used his supreme ability, King of Gluttony Beelzebub, to consume another golem for Seal to analyze his abilities. The other students and the knights also easily defeated the other players, showing how cheated they were. Then they hear a loud shout from the back of the room. "Raw!" There was a golem 3 times bigger than the others. It was made of a material that looked like black metal, and it had the intimidating ability that caused the students to cringe. It ran at the students with overwhelming speed. Kaori, Iri, and Suzu cringed and stopped their spells, while giving frightened screams at the hideous appearance of the creature. Meld noticed this and shouted, "Hey, what are you guys doing? This is a fight." The girls came back to their senses and spoke ashamedly, "I'm sorry." There was one young man who was furious about this situation. "Our hero, Amanagawa Kauki. How dare you frighten them? I will not forgive you." Kauki seemed to have mistaken the girl's repulsion for fear. And he was angry at that misunderstanding. "Reach for the skies, rising lightning." "You idiot, stop now." Completely ignoring Meld, Kauki's incantation made his sword glow, and he threw a blade of light at the crystal golem. The light easily shattered him and hit the wall behind him. Debris fell from the wall, making it almost collapse. Kauki looked at the girls with a bright smile and stood his chest as if to say, "I saved you guys, it's okay now." Meld approached and slapped him. You idiot, don't use a skull like that in a place like this, and if the room collapses, what are you going to do?" Kauki apologized, and the girls approached him with dull smiles, trying to comfort him. At that moment, the wall that had been hit collapsed, revealing a light that made everyone look in their direction. "Meld-san, what is that?" Kaori pointed to the glowing crystal and asked. The other girls were also delighted with the beautiful crystal, which looked like a diamond sparkling. "Oh, that is a France crystal, and one of that size is rare. Its beautiful appearance makes it very popular with women, making it very expensive." "It's beautiful." Kaori blushed as she secretly looked at Hajime. Shizuku was one of the only ones who noticed that. "If it's like that, we should get one." The one who said that and quickly moved towards the crystal was Hayama. He climbed up the rubble to reach the crystal. "Hey, don't do what you want like that. We haven't confirmed if it's safe." Meld shouted in panic, but Hayama pretended he didn't hear and reached out his hand for the crystal. At this moment, the knight who was holding a trap detector device, shouted in panic, "Commander, it's a trap." But it was already too late. Hayama touched the crystal, and the next moment, the students found themselves on a wide, old-looking but sturdy bridge. Then, at the bottom of the bridge, appeared a large magic circle. And from the magic circle appeared a bull with blue skin and yellow horns. He was so big that if he went to the side, he would fall off the bridge. He gave a deafening roar. "The Behemoth." Commander Meld muttered as he looked at the light coming from the other side of the bridge. Several skeletons appeared. "Shit. Rimuru, Kauki, help me hold this thing." "Knights, huh?" Then Meld realized that neither Rimuru nor the knights were there. It was just Meld and the rest of the students. Rimuru was in a dark room. But that didn't mean anything to him, not least because the method he used to visualize things was his ability to use 360 degrees vision and magical perception that didn't need light to work. He saw the bodies of the knights beside him, but what surprised him most was Seal's analysis. The cause of death was a high concentration of magiculars. What? Rimuru was surprised because this world had no magic concentration and used a different magic than Rimuru's world. There was not supposed to be any magic in this world, so how was he detecting a high concentration of magic? Another surprise was that Seal told him that the original place to which the trap would transport them was not this one, and that the spell had received some powerful interference that brought them to this room. Then the magical perception detected someone. A man in green and black clothes. He had white hair, totally red eyes, and a skeletal face. He was holding a double-edged dagger in his hand. Rimuru realized that this man was the source of the high concentration of magic that killed the knights. The man took the body of one of the knights, ripped off its head, and burned it soon after. He sat on a rock and began to sharpen his dagger on its skull as he spoke. "So you're Lord Demon Rimuru, huh?" He declared it in an arrogant voice. Chapter 7. Traps and Idiots. Meld was in crisis. And it was understandable why. 10 meters in diameter, bluish skin, scarlet eyes, and 2 bull horns, it was a behemoth. There used to be a group of adventurers who called themselves the strongest. But it wasn't out of arrogance, they really were the strongest adventurers. The group of 20 adventurers entered the Orcus dungeon, declaring that they would dominate it, but only one of these adventurers returned, and the cause of this was this creature that was in the last room on the 65th floor. There was only one person alive who had met Behemoth in person, Meld Loggins, the surviving adventurer. That day, Meld saw fear. This creature had slaughtered his friends, but Meld had no desire for revenge. On the contrary, Meld was thinking about how to escape from this place as fast as possible, for he knew that the hero and his group had no chance against this creature at their current level. If Rimuru and the knights were here, they could have a great chance of escaping, with Rimuru, Meld, and Kauki slowing the Behemoth down, while the knights made their way among the skeletons. But now that there were only him and the students here, he knew that the students would not be able to battle the skeletons. As they trained on the upper floors, Meld realized that most of them were easily frightened by the monsters. In this unfamiliar situation, they were not going to be able to kill all those skeletons. Shit. Kauki and his group, make your way between those skeletons while I hold this thing. Meld-san, I'll help you, let's kill this monster. Idiot. That monster killed the strongest adventurers that ever lived. You don't stand a chance with him. Still, I can't abandon you. Me too. Kauki and Ryotaro spoke confidently. Meld realized that they were not going to give up and began to prepare for battle. The rest of the students were being attacked by the skeletons. They were too scared to have any combat coordination, so they were simply attacking the skeletons. Hagumo was scared too, but he didn't lose his ration. He realized that they had to run away when he felt the pressure emitted by the giant bull. He was killing the skeletons by making them slide off the bridge and fall into the chasm under the bridge when he saw that the girl next to him was about to be attacked. He used transmute on the ground and made the skeleton slide. One of the students took the opportunity and killed the skeleton. Meanwhile, Hagumo supported the back of the girl, who was lying on the ground, and said, "Look, don't worry, they're not that strong if you calm down. Even because everyone but me is very strong." He said that and gave her a smile to reassure her. "Oh, thank you." Hagumo helped her up and then rushed off in Kauki's direction. When he got there, he saw Meld injecting mana into his sword that was wedged into the ground while forming a barrier, preventing the Behemoth from getting through. However, the barrier was almost in pieces. Meanwhile, Kauki and his group were discussing whether to retreat or not. "Amanagawa, we need your help." While the students were fighting with the skeletons, Behemoth attacked once again, and the barrier was beginning to give way. The barrier won't hold Kauki, hurry back. You too. No? We must all come back alive. Commander Meld's expression was bitter. The best option now was to run away while the barrier was standing because, in a narrow space, they would not be able to dodge the attacks. But only experienced people knew that, and Kauki was too stubborn to obey him. In addition, Kauki wanted to challenge Behemoth. Kauki thought that if it was him, he might be able to overcome this monster, but Meld knew that he was overestimating himself. During training, he would always praise them so the students would keep their confidence high, but it seems he overdid it. "Kauki, let's back off." Shizuku, who understood the gravity of the situation, tried to pull Kauki to back off. This is not the first time Kauki has been irrational. "I will help you." "Thank you, Ryotaro." The muscle brain encouragement only made the situation worse by making Shizuku click her tongue. "Are you guys drunk? Understand the situation? You big idiots." The moment she saw Shizuku nervous, Kaori became even more anxious, not knowing what to do. Brr. Behemoth attacked the barrier once again, making it give way even more. At this moment, Hagumo arrived. "Amanagawa, we need help." "Hugh? Nagumo. Nagumo-kun." They were surprised by Hajume's arrival. "Hurry up and retreat, they need you." "What are you saying?" "Don't worry about it, leave everything to us. This is not the time for that kind of thing." Hagumo grabbed Kauki by the collar and pointed at his colleagues while looking at him with a serious look. They are bewildered because they don't have their leader with them. "You need to go there, or they will get hurt." Kauki looked at his colleagues, who were scared of fighting the skeletons. "All right. Commander, we will come back for you. Wait for us." Kauki and his group went to help their colleagues. Meld thanked Hagumo and was about to give him an order, but Hagumo spoke first. "Meld-san, I have a plan." Meld was confused, but Hagumo explained his plan, and then, "Can you do it?" "Yes." Seeing Hajume's determination and confidence, Meld had no choice but to accept. "All right, boy, we'll come back to save you. Now go." When Meld spoke this, he withdrew the sword that was stuck in the ground and began to recite an incantation. At the same time, Hagumo ran towards Behemoth from the edge of the bridge, so as not to hinder Meld's attack. When Hagumo was close to Behemoth, Meld's sword glowed, and he launched a large horizontal sword of light that struck Behemoth's head, causing him to lower his head. When Behemoth did this, he felt the ground around him pin him down. He had his paws, head, and horns stuck in the earth, which was the cause of this. It was Hagumo. He waited for the Behemoth to lower its head and used transmute to trap it. When Meld saw that the plan worked, he turned to help destroy the skeletons. "Assume position. Don't forget your training." Those bones are nothing to us. Attack with everything. When the students heard the voice of their trusted commander, they regained some of their calm and began to fight properly. With Meld and Kaki's group, they quickly managed to finish off the skeletons and reach the stairs, but before they went up, Meld shouted, "Wait." They looked at him with looks that said, "The escape route is here, why do we have to wait? We have to help the Hajime boy, he is holding the monster for us." They were confused when Meld said that the useless was holding the monster by himself, and then they looked in the direction Meld pointed, and there was Hajime holding the behemoth. Nagumo-kun. When Kaori saw the danger Hajime was in, she was shocked and remembered the dream she had last night. Any moment now, he will run out of mana and come here as fast as possible. While he's doing that, cast your long-range spells on the creature to slow him down. Hajime was using transmutation to hold Behemoth back. Every time Behemoth would escape, he reinforced himself by repeating the spell, and whenever he was almost out of mana, he ate a magic pill. He used his last transmutation when he saw his colleagues ready to cast their spells, and then ran as fast as he could. The students were casting their long-range spells. Hayama was about to aim his fireball at Behemoth when he remembered something. Last night Hayama was anxious and couldn't sleep, so he went outside for some air, and when he came back, he heard Kaori's voice coming from Hajime's room. He hid and saw that Kaori was in her pajamas, saying goodbye to Hajime. And then today, Kaori kept looking at Hajime and smiling at him. As he remembered these events, a dark feeling grew inside him, and a troubled smile appeared on his face as he changed his target. Hajime was running. He looked back and saw Behemoth advancing, but he was also somewhat reassured, because, at this rate, if his colleagues accepted Behemoth with spells, he had a great chance of escaping. Hajime then saw Behemoth retreating because of the rain of spells passing over Hajime. But when Hajime looked forward again, he saw a fireball coming towards him. Why is it coming this way? He was knocked down by the fireball and tried to get up, but he stopped when he heard Behemoth's breathing. That breath was really close, in fact, it was right next to him. Behemoth was looking at him angrily and attacking him with his horns. Hajime managed to dodge it, but the attack hit the floor of the bridge, and caused it to give way. He and Behemoth fell into an abyss that you couldn't even see the bottom of. Nagumo-kun. Kaori screamed and tried to jump together to save him, but was held back by Kauki and Shizuku. "Stop, Kaori. You can't go there. Let me go. I need to save him." Nagumo-kun. Kaori screamed as she tried to jump. And Shizuku, who was holding her, thought, how does she have so much strength? Meld approached and slammed the corner of his hand into the back of Kaori's head, causing her to faint. "Meld-san, you didn't need that." "No, Kauki. He did right. Thank you, Meld-san. We can't lose anyone else." Meld spoke in a heavy voice. Going back in time a little. In another room on the 65th floor. Rimuru was surprised. Not only did this man in front of him use magic from his universe as a source of power, but he also knew his true identity. He had many questions for this man. "Hey, how did you?" "Ha ha ha ha." He tried to speak but was interrupted by an arrogant laugh. "I can't believe those bigwigs were so afraid of you. They went crazy when you arrived ahead of time, formulating various plans. I thought you were supposed to be strong. But apparently you have nothing to do with your sealed temporal magic, do you? I'll make you my servant, and then they'll have to respect me. Ha 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 ha." He finished with another laugh. "Eh? He wants me to become his servant. Wait, why does he think I'm weak? It's because of me." "What do you mean, Seal-san?" "I can cause interference in almost all techniques to measure power, so he must think you have the strength of a normal human." "I can cause interference in almost all techniques to measure power, so he must think you have the strength of a normal human." "I get it. But how does he know that my temporal magic has been sealed? It has high odds that those he refers to as figurines are the ones responsible for sealing this magic, and also for interfering with my analysis of the laws of this universe." "I see. Wait, he said that the said figures were scared because I arrived early, so they were planning to call me to this world and ambush me. The probability is high. So since I came here together with the heroes group, they have to form a new plan, but then why did they send this weak guy to give me this information?" Rimuru was right. This laughing guy in front of him had the strength of a pseudo-lord demon, which to most people would be strong, but to Rimuru, this guy was just a source of information. So why was he sent here? They probably didn't send him here. There's a good chance that he is acting on his own. "Ah, I get it, he wants to capture me to appear in front of his bosses. So this guy is an idiot. I see, well, at least we'll get some information." Rimuru turned off the thought acceleration he was using to talk to Seal and declared, "Hey you." "Huh?" The man stopped laughing when Rimuru called out to him. "Yeah, yourself." "What? You're an idiot." "Hahaha, what nonsense you are saying. You're the idiot here. Kiss my boots, and I'll forgive you for it. I'll even let you live as my slave." "I don't need your forgiveness. I just want your information, but don't worry, I already know you'll say something like, I don't even talk dead, but I've learned to extract memories, so don't worry about answering." "You. How dare you underestimate me? Take that." 1,000 blades of death. After he said this, his dagger began to glow red, then he threw it up, and it multiplied into several blades that attacked Rimuru. Ha! I offered him servitude, but he dared to underestimate me, so I had to kill him. Actually, I don't even think I needed to use my strongest attack. That was your strongest attack? I didn't think so. Ha! What do you mean, no big deal? Look how easily he died. There's no way he's alive. Then who are you talking to? The idiot began to break into a cold sweat and slowly turned around and looked back, only to see Rimuru unharmed. Company how? It was really simple, Rimuru just used his absolute barrier. This man's attack was really weak. Well, it doesn't matter how I did it. Time for information. Rimuru approached while using his new skill, God of Souls Hades. This was a superior skill that Rimuru, Seal, created by unifying the supreme skills Hulking Belial and Lustful King Asmodeus. The Hulking Belial skill was a skill that ruled over life and death, but with more power on the death part. It belonged to one of Rimuru, Seal, Tensura's servants. When Rimuru, Seal, wanted to analyze her skill, she said, "With pleasure, sir." The Hulking Belial skill was a skill that ruled over life and death, but with more power on the death part. It belonged to one of Rimuru, Seal, Tensura's servants. When Rimuru, Seal, wanted to analyze her skill, she said, "With pleasure, sir." And the Lustful King Asmodeus skill was also a skill that held power over death and life, but she was leaning more towards the life side. This skill was in the possession of the demon lord Germina's Valentine. He had to agree to some conditions to get her permission. He had to agree to help rebuild her kingdom, and to send an invitation to her wedding. He only agreed because Seal was really excited to analyze this skill. When Seal unified these skills, he created the God of Souls Hades. It is a skill that has great control over souls and can even scour their memories. It can also revive people if you have their soul, or it can also swap their bodies. When Rimuru discovered the powers of this skill, he found it a little scary but said, "There's nothing to be done." Rimuru was beginning to rummage through the idiot's memories when the idiot stated, "Now that I realize how stupid I was, well, at least I will die a good death." As he spoke, he pulled a black crystal from his jacket and crushed it. "Stop." Rimuru tried to stop him but could not. That was a death crystal. It would burn your body and soul if you injected mana, lowered your defenses, and crushed it. And to think he would have a death crystal, I wonder why he had one of those. Probably to avoid leaking information. But those crystals are pretty rare, right? Yes. Normally he would carry a normal disintegration crystal, which is easier to find and less painful to use, but this crystal would leave his soul intact. The use of the soul-burning death crystal means that he knows his ability to remove memories from the soul. Well, if they knew I didn't need the body to extract information, it makes sense for them to use a death crystal, but how could they know about my ability if you interfere with analytical skills? It has a high chance that they got the information from someone who knows the master's abilities. There aren't many people I've told about this skill. Well, no use thinking about it now. Did you get any information before he smashed the crystal? Only the name his bosses are publicly known by. Eh? Publicly? I've never heard of such powerful people in this world. Master, I have heard, yes, they are known as gods. Let's go find the other students. Rimuru thought and continued on his way. Rimuru broke through the door and saw a portal. He went through the portal after Seal said it was safe. At the same time, in a place far away, in a golden castle, there was a blond man holding a crystal ball that transmitted images. He took his time to act, and when he found the person he was looking for, he found that this person had used his death crystal. Yet the man seemed to have revealed some information about the greatest known threat. Shit. I should have killed that idiot when I had the chance. He threw the crystal ball at the wall angrily, causing it to shatter. This blond man was the boss of the one who tried to kill Rimuru. Apparently, even among the gods, the white-haired man was called an idiot. I have to report this. After saying this, the man headed towards the throne room. After bowing, he reported what had happened to the idiot to the man on the throne. The man on the throne had a young appearance, but he had the aura of an experienced person. He was wearing casual clothes that didn't really match his position, but no one would dare comment on this. After the report, the man on the throne spoke. I told you that this man would cause trouble. Why didn't you kill him? The man spoke in a calm but powerful voice. I thought that if he awakened as a true demon lord, he might be a good tool. He spoke this as he broke into a cold sweat, wondering what his punishment would be. The man on the throne was not someone to be trifled with. This is already your second mistake. When you went to summon those children to play in your little world, you summoned our greatest enemy and ruined the plan now. The blond man calling Ed swallowed dryly. I will let you go without punishment this time, and since you think an awakened demon lord might be useful, I'll give you that. The powerful man with indigo-colored hair and eyes pulled a black orb from his clothes and handed it to Ed. This is. Release that into your little world and let it do the rest of the work. He knew the chaos this could cause, but he didn't even care about that. He was just happy not to receive punishment and said, Yes, Velda-sama, the leader of the gods. The one who is above that is well known for his immense power. Velda. In an unknown place called the cosmos, and beyond the cosmos is a place called the void. A boundary between reality lies between two individuals that have been sealed for a long time. One of the individuals has the body of a huge dragon that has big wings big enough to cover the multiple galaxies' wings. The other is a man, whose figure can't be seen by anyone. It's almost time, my friend, said the man on the sleeping dragon. We will get our revenge. Chapter 8. The Monster of the Abyss. Hajime woke up with the water hitting his face. What? I thought I was dead. He looked around. He was in a river with a relatively strong current. This river was probably my salvation. He muttered as he looked up. He saw around its stone ceiling. It was probably a cave. It looks like the current carried me away. When he got a better look, he was in an underground cave lit by crystals of green light. The cave had many plants, but Hajime didn't see any animals or monsters. This cave was very different from the other floors of the maze. It was less artificial, with rounded walls and vegetation. It looks like I got lucky. Is there any way I can go back? Hajime encouraged himself to continue forward and look for a way back. 30 minutes later, Hajime heard a sound and hid behind a rock. He saw the place where the sound came from, and there he saw a small, red-eyed rabbit. Aren't there supposed to be super strong monsters down here? Hajime thought. The grey wolf with grey and red details approached the rabbit as red-colored electric sparks came out of its back and attacked it. Totally against Hajime's expectations, the rabbit dodged easily, but the wolf used its electrical discharge ability to attack. While the rabbit was in the air, so to yet another surprise, the rabbit propelled itself onto an invisible platform in the air. It was his aerodynamic skill. He used aerodynamics once again and kicked the wolf, which killed it on the spot. Phew. Hajime put his hand in front of his mouth to cover his cry, but it didn't work, and the white rabbit took off to attack them. It delivered a flying kick at Hajime, who defended it with his left arm. Shit. Hajime was thinking about how to survive, while the rabbit seemed to be having fun. The rabbit was about to go on the attack once again, but then he stopped. It stared at the top of Hajime's head, or so it seemed, but Hajime noticed. The rabbit was looking at something behind him. When Hajime turned around, he saw a white bear with huge claws and red eyes. It was walking in a bipedal fashion while looking at Hajime and the rabbit as if choosing its prey. Hajime realized that this bear in front of him was not normal. It had an overwhelming pressure that far surpassed the Behemoth. The rabbit attacked and was torn apart by the bear's claws in seconds. Meanwhile, Hajime stared. That kicking rabbit could easily kill the Behemoth with the force of his kick, but the bear in front of him treated him as a nuisance at best. Hajime couldn't move because of that look in his eyes. A terrifying look that the bear gave him as it ate the rabbit. The bear swallowed the rabbit whole and stood up, slowly walking towards him. The bear seemed to say, "You're next." Ah. Hajime used all his strength to run, but it was useless. The bear's claws glowed, and it made a vertical slash in the air. And when it did that, 3 lights went straight at Hajime that were similar to Kauki's light swords, but they were smaller, and there were 3. The curved claws went towards Hajime and hit his left arm. Wah! Hajime fell with the impact. He coughed to try to catch his breath. He was already dazed from the pain and the fall, but what he saw in front of him made him forget all that. The bear was eating something. But what is it eating? Hajime thought, and then he realized that his left arm was strangely light. He looked at his arm, and it was no longer there. Hajime's brain and heart tried to escape reality, but it was impossible. The pain woke him up to reality, and he began to instinctively crawl backwards. Ah! Hajime's scream echoed through the dungeon. He began to crawl backwards as fast as he could to get away from the white bear. The bear finished its meal and began to slowly walk towards Hajime. The bear extended its paws towards Hajime, as if it planned to swallow him whole. AKHHH, T-transmute. With his tear-covered face deciding the extreme shot, Hajime put his hand on the wall behind him and used transmutation. It was a reaction caused by pure fear. The ability created a hole that the bear couldn't get through, but Hajime could. Only the bear wouldn't give up so easily, so he began to break the wall with his claws in anger at having his prey escape. Bry. The wall was shattered by the single curved claw magic. Transmute. 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 Hajime completely forgot about the pain and everything. He could only run away as his instincts commanded him. Transmute, transmute, tran. Hajime used every last mana point to escape the bear, and it seemed to have worked. The bear gave up on breaking the wall and walked away. Ah, I'm going to die, right? Hajime muttered in disgust as he looked at the bleeding on his arm. There was no way he could stay alive like this. Hajime felt his consciousness fading. Hajime, as he fainted, recalled his memories of the past. His life flashed before his eyes, from elementary school to moments with his family to that moment with Kaori in the moonlight. Then he felt something drip on his face like tears, and he fainted. Feeling a sensation of the water tasting in his mouth, Hajime slowly regained consciousness. Why am I alive? While remembering the events, Hajime asked himself this question. He tried to get up but hit his head. Phew. Just at that moment, he remembered that the hole he was in was small, and did not allow much movement. At that moment, he felt a phantom pain in his non-existent arm. And out of reflex, he pressed on the wound. Is it healed? How? Hagumo felt a sea of blood surrounding him. Anyone who lost that amount of blood would die on the spot. At this moment, another drop of water fell on his cheek and dripped into his mouth. Hagumo noticed that the moment the drop of water entered, he felt a little more recovered. This is. Hagumo endured the pain and raised his right arm to use transmute on the ceiling. When he used it, he saw blue light coming from a crystal. This crystal was the size and shape of a soccer ball, and it let this water flow out, which recovered Hagumo. Hagumo was fascinated by the beautiful crystal that saved his life. And he moved closer to drink more of the healing water. It's called ambrosia, but Hagumo doesn't know it yet. When Hagumo took more of the water, all his pain and fatigue went away. Hagumo didn't know that this was actually the greatest of all treasures in history. It was a rare magical stone that sucked mana through the air for millennia until it was formed, and it was called the Divine Crystal. It would take him hundreds of years more to transform this magical power into a liquid. This liquid was called ambrosia, and it was said that drinking it would heal all wounds and diseases, and if you drank it constantly, you would gain eternal life. Hagumo crawled to the wall and cringed in fear of the creatures that would be there if he went outside. Both his heart and mind were broken. He could only remember the look on the clawed bear's face. That look broke any determination Hagumo had. Now he had nowhere to go. Someone save me. Those words reached no one. Hagumo was lying, hugging his knees. It was the 4th day he had been like this. Hagumo has barely moved these past few days. Even though the ambrosia kept him alive, it didn't satisfy his hunger, and Hagumo spent all this time starving, while the ambrosia kept him alive. He was also left feeling a lot of pain in his phantom limb. Why did I end up like this? He thought about this several times during the last day. While suffering hunger and phantom pain, he could only think of this. So after suffering for so long, he decided to stop drinking ambrosia and take the easy way out. But then, no, I want to live. He didn't know why, but he couldn't let himself die. He plunged into thought once again. It was the 7th day since Hagumo arrived at the cave. Hagumo was still suffering heavily from hunger, but the fear of leaving was much stronger. Why don't I die? Hurry. No, I don't want to die. On the 8th day, Hagumo's mind began to go through changes. Shifting between wishing to die and living, Hagumo began to have dark thoughts. Why do I have to suffer so much? I didn't do anything to deserve this. I was kidnapped by God, my colleague betrayed me, and it ate my arm. These past few days, while thinking about what brought him here, Hagumo remembered the fireball that hit him. There was no way that one of his cheated colleagues could have screwed up a spell, and the spell coincidentally hit him. Someone did it on purpose, and he had a good guess. It was a boy who tormented him every day because Hagumo was jealous of Kaori. On the 9th day, Hagumo's thoughts got darker. They did this to me. Who hurt me? Who forced all these irrational events on me? Hagumo began to look for an enemy. All these horrible events ate away at Hagumo's soul. Why didn't anyone come to help me? What must I do to make this pain go away? What do I want? I want to live. Who is stopping me? The enemy. Who is the enemy? Those who get in my way. What should I do with them? Without realizing it, Hagumo began to talk to himself and answer his own questions. Day 10. There was no longer a grudge in Hagumo's mind, neither against God nor against his fellow traitor. All that remained was the memory of the girl who said she would protect him. And the memory of his family. That's right, she said she would protect me, didn't she? So why am I here? She is the reason my life turned to SHT in the first place. When he saw that memory was gone too, and only the memory of his family was left. That's right, I just want to go home. I want to find my brother and go home with him. Anyone who stops me is my enemy. Anyone who becomes my enemy, I will kill. 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 Without realizing it, he began to speak these words. Without malice, hatred, or hostility. It was simply murderous intent. Just kill to survive. Everyone who got in his way was going to die. That was the conclusion he came to. And so the monster of the abyss was born. Hagumo decided to leave the tunnel. He first needed to eat to regain his strength, so he decided to set a trap. At a certain place in a natural cave in the Orcus dungeon. 2 grey wolves were hiding, waiting for some monster to pass nearby to attack them. They were hiding 10 meters away from each other, each behind a bush. This was so that when some monsters passed by, they could attack from both sides, making it difficult to defend themselves. The wolf on the right heard a strange noise coming from where his hunting partner was. He moved closer, saw his friend in the square hole, and then heard a whisper. Transmute. The ground below the wolf warped and took him next to his mate. The wolf looked up and saw a black-haired boy. He tried to scale the wall of the hole to attack the boy, but when he did, transmute. The boy whispered again, and immediately the whole wall wrapped around the wolves, leaving them motionless. Hagumo transmuted a stone spear from the wall and stuck it into the wolf, but the spear did not penetrate the wolf's skin. TSK, I was hoping for that. He used transmute on his spear, turning its tip into a spiral. Well, this is going to be painful for you, but I don't care because I'm hungry. He began to twist and thrust the spear, while the wolf screamed in pain and let out red rays from its back, trying to electrocute Hajime, but since the spear was made of stone, the electricity couldn't reach him. After killing the wolves, he passed on a knife and removed their pelts. It would take him a long time to make a fire, and he was very hungry, so he decided to eat the raw meat. When he ate it, how disgusting. The taste of the meat was horrible, but it was better than starving. Ugh. He felt a pain run through his entire body. It was then that he remembered that monster meat contained a mana that was deadly to humans. But he had to resist, otherwise, when the ambrosia ran out, he would starve to death. The pain began to worsen, and his muscles began to tear. He took a stone jar that he made with transmutation, and put the ambrosia in it. After that, he began to heal himself, and then the mana from the flesh began to attack again, and the ambrosia healed again. Healing, breaking, healing, breaking. The pain was so horrible that Hajime began to bang his head against the wall to try to pass out, but the ambrosia had the disadvantage that it didn't let the user lose consciousness. After a while of torture, the pain stopped. Hajime felt confused and tried to stand up. When he did, he felt his body lighter. He looked at his reflection in the small stream beside him and saw. His hair was white, his eyes were red, and his body was muscular. He also noticed that his mana, which was a faint blue color, was now crimson red, which was the color of mana that monsters had. What? So he looked for something in his pocket, and he found his status board, which somehow had not been lost. And it showed. Name: Nagumo Hajime. Age: 17. Class: Synergist. Blessing: Crest of the Storm. Level: 8+6. Strength 100+88. Vitality 300+288. Stamina 100+88. Agility 200+188. Magic power 300+288. Magic resistance 300+288. New skills: Mana manipulation, Iron Stomach, Lightning Cloak. Why is he like this? Hajime was surprised. He had greatly increased his status and also gained 3 new skills. Mana manipulation, is that a red magic power? What does it do? Hajime had a hunch, so he tried using transmute, and as he expected, he didn't need to use chanting or magic circles as much as the monsters did. Is that serious? That should be impossible. By the way, eating magical beasts gives me their abilities. Hajime began to look at the descriptions and test his new abilities. Iron Stomach allows you to eat magical beasts' flesh without causing death. I wouldn't have to spend so much holy water. That's good. Lightning Cloak allows him to use lightning magic. He did some tests, but nothing activated. Then he remembered that he had read in a book that he needed a clear image of the spells to cast them. He visualized his magic, raised his palm, and... wow, that'll be useful. Too bad I can't cast it. There at the top of his hand were red electric beams. They couldn't be cast like normal magic, but they would still be very useful. Hajime took the grey wolf meat and used a lightning cloak to roast it. When he ate it, it still tasted bad, but he didn't feel any pain or anything like that. He finished eating and then left his temporary base. The day passed, and Hajime was full steam ahead. He trained his new skills and his new strength. He also gained a transmutation-derived skill called Mineral Evaluation. Normally, it would take years to develop a derived skill, and he didn't know if he got one so fast because he was from another world, or because he ate the flesh of monsters and got stronger. Hajime examined various minerals around him and found the most interesting ones. Green light stone. Stone that, when injected with mana, releases a green light. If it is broken when fueled, all light will be released. Hajime decided to take some to use as light grenades. Burning stone. Highly flammable ore that, when it reaches high temperatures, will start to burn and get smaller eventually. It will reach a bursting point if the temperature continues to increase. It was basically like gunpowder. Hajime had an idea when he saw this description and started looking at other descriptions, looking for something. And he found it. Tour metal. Black, tough metal. Hardness 8, scale of 1 to 10. Will become weak when cooled and strong again when heated. That's it. Hajime celebrated and began his project. He had several failures and tried several times before he finally succeeded. Open. The sound of a revolver was heard at the bottom of the abyss. This gun that Hajime called Donner was made with Tour metal and flintstone ammunition that Hajime activated with his lightning cloak skill, making for a powerful shot. Hajime used his Donner and easily killed a white rabbit, similar to the one that played with Hajime. He ate the rabbit's meat, which also tasted horrible, and looked at his status board again. Name: Nagumo Hajime. Age: 17. Class: Synergist. Blessing: Crest of the Storm. Level: 14+4. Strength 300+100. Vitality 400. Resistance 300+100. Agility 500+200. Magic power 450+50. Magic resistance. 450, plus 50. New skills. Divine Step, Aerodynamics, Teleportation. As before, eating magical beasts made his status increase. He doesn't get any stronger if he eats a monster he ate before. He also gained 3 new abilities. He immediately tested the Divine Step. The Divine Step made you move at high speed, leaving only a blur behind, and teleportation basically amplified the Divine Step. Aerodynamics meant that Hagumo could jump well in the air, creating a transparent platform with mana. Hagumo, after looking at his status, spoke. It's time to face my nemesis. Hagumo headed towards the place that all the monsters in the abyss avoided. The lair of the beast. Hagumo was hiding when he saw the white bear making a meal lying down. Well, let's get started. He muttered and approached the bear without hiding. Hey man, how are you? Did my arm feel good? The bear looked at Hagumo with curiosity, and his expression showed, did he come here to die? Yeah, I came here for revenge, how about we get started? Hagumo pointed and fired with. The bear deflected on instinct. And it took off on Hagumo, running in zigzags to avoid being hit. When he came close, Hagumo leapt up with a Divine Step. That's it. I am no longer your prey, I am your enemy now. Hagumo said this with a fearless smile and shot again. The bear was very fast, managed to dodge his shot, and immediately launched a curved claw. Hagumo dodged it with a jump, but immediately the bear launched another curved claw, thinking Hagumo wouldn't be able to dodge it well in the air. Hagumo used aerodynamics to dodge and shoot the bear. Perhaps because he was surprised that Hagumo could jump in the air, the bear couldn't fully dodge, and the shot hit his left arm, ripping it off. Ha! How ironic. After saying that, Hagumo picked up the arm on the ground and ate a piece. He thought that with that, he would get stronger and win easily. But something unexpected happened. Phew. Hagumo felt a sharp pain. By the way, the flesh of stronger monsters still caused pain, even with the iron stomach. The bear that realized Hagumo was vulnerable was about to attack, but Hagumo stepped forward and threw a green crystal on the ground, causing it to break and release a blinding light. Before the bear could recover from the blindness, Hagumo used a lightning cloak on the blood that was on the ground. The red electric current spread through the bear's blood trail until it reached him, causing him to die electrocuted. Haha. Finally. Yes, he finally killed his enemy. He ate some more of the clawed bear's meat and looked at his status. Name: Nagumo Hajime. Age: 17. Class: Synergists. Blessing: Crest of the Storm. Level: 20 plus 5. Strength 600 plus 100. Vitality 500 plus 100. Resistance 460 plus 100. Agility: 550 plus 50. Magic power 600 plus 50. Magic resistance 600 plus 50. New skills: ore smelting, ore splitting, and air clawing. Hagumo finished eating and went his way.